Drive and Thrive, episode 3, maybe. In Drive and Thrive 1, we talked about the characteristics of high-performing teams, and more exactly the 4 pillars of high-performing teams. And that's in the context of a company, of you being a leader in a corporation or any sort of organizations out there. Okay. And then in episode 2, I took some time to talk about the 4 pillars of high performance, but at an individual level, right? So when I'm saying individual, I'm talking about me as a person, me as a leader, me as a manager in the workplace, right? But if I want to perform on the workplace, I need first, of course, to make sure I'm in the right conditions for high performance or peak performance or just normal performance for starters, right? And we talked about the MEDS, right? MEDS, meditation, exercise, diet, sleep. In the 4 pillars for high performance in the corporate world, we talked about a lot of things, but in particular alignment, psychological safety, being committed to excellence, and transparent communications, right? So we've set the basics so far. Now, to continue this journey, we will need a sort of stage, a fictitious company that we will use to discuss the techniques, the views, the opinions, the framework that I'm proposing in Drive and Thrive to make sure that, we develop for ourselves and for others ethical leadership, that's the first goal, and high performance, ultimately, right? But for that, we could talk about a lot of examples out of real life, would that be in the press, or I could talk about my real life experience, right, from previous roles I had in different companies, would that be in France, would that be in Australia, or now in Switzerland. But of course, talking about that would be a potential breach to confidentiality, right? And I don't want to unnecessarily jeopardize confidentiality, privacy, any sort of IP, or embarrass anyone altogether when I'm going to discuss about specific situations where things have not been very optimal, right? And where we have worked on improving behaviors and organization, right? So I think it is important to project ourselves into a fictitious company. This company would be your average one, really, probably moving from the startup or from the inception stage to a growth stage, right? So we would discuss all the growth pain issues and all the scalability issues and the process, foundations, hiring new people, seeing founders leave and go, right? It's the most critical phase and probably the longest phase in most companies, right? Going from inception and startup to scale up and then to being an established and hopefully successful business, right? With ethical leadership, positive culture in place, and maximum performance going on, right? So we are going to help together this company achieve this sort of maturity stage, so to speak, right? So this is a company where we are going to assume that you and me, we are going to do a little bit of role playing here. We are going to be senior or mid-range managers joining the company at this stage and joining a lot. So we're probably going to, since I'm a technologist and I'm mainly addressing senior technical leaders in this podcast, but not only, I'm addressing really any sort of leaders, but probably still will set the stage primarily in the space of technology or IT, right? Because these days IT tends to have a sort of central and very controversial, challenging spot in the organization, right? We talk a lot about digital disruption and transformation. That is made necessary by all this technology onslaught that has been coming over the last few years, right? It's been web, it's been cloud, it's been digital, it's been blockchain, and now it's AI, right? So there's always something coming from the technology space that is going to disrupt or to enable the business, right? So we'll probably project ourselves as a senior first line or senior technical manager, right, in this fictitious company. And yeah, we are going to have a role and we're going to step in and we are going to try to bring our experience or fresh views on the world to this company, which is facing multiple challenges. Okay, I think that's That's for starters. Now let's talk about this company. What can it be? Doesn't matter, really. I've undertaken the effort to make up a fictitious company, and a fun one, but also with a company with a mission and with a purpose, because we'll talk about strategy, ultimately. That's going to be the crux at some point, right? Have this company with a mission, turn that into a strategy to grow and to be successful, right? So strategy is important. But first, the mission of this company will be probably in the space of sustainability. I like that because it's going to help us relating to other podcasts, Kind Minds, Sustainix, for instance. So it's on a mission to do something, purposeful for the environment and the well-being of people and mankind, ultimately, right? So let me disclose. I'm laughing ahead. Sorry, I'm making fun of myself, and I find myself hilarious, really. So bear with me. This company is a company that has a very specific value proposition to turn wastes into assets, right? So it's a sort of recycling company, and it's also trying to valorize and to transform, waste into something more noble, right? And we're talking about the space of cigarette wastes, and in particular, we're talking about stubs. Right? Stubs are a big problem, or cigarette butts. They're everywhere. Right? You just look around, right, in the streets, unfortunately in your sewers, sometimes in the rivers systems. It's awful. Cigarette stubs are extremely toxic, right? And there are visual pollution, there are chemical pollution. It's a problem, right? Not to mention the health issue related to the overconsumption of tobacco. I'm not going into that space, right? So this company has decided to step into that space with a solution to turn ashes to assets. I like that. That's the bottom line. Ashes to assets, right? And it's going to process stubs. So the name of the company is the Stub Horn, right? Why horn? Because it's like an inverted cornucopia, if you will, right? There's a cornucopia normally which dispenses prosperity, wealth, plentifulness. I'm trying to find the word, right? Anyway, it will come back to me. But in that case, the horn is inverted. It's like a vacuum, right? Mouth, and it's taking all the stubs in, right? And at the other end, the other end of the cornucopia, it's producing noble and reusable materials out of stubs, right? So the stub horns, and obviously, the witty mind of yours wouldn't miss the pun in that. The Stub Horn Company, Stub Horn. And why did I pick this pun? For obvious reasons. Because as we will see, there are a number of habits at the individual level or company level or processes which tend to be stubborn, really, most of the time, right? And it's, an organization can be stubborn, a behavior can be stubborn, a habit can be stubbornly anchored in our life, and we want to get rid of it, right? So the Stubborn Company, or Stub Horn Company, is the perfect ground for us to discuss change, to discuss transformation, and not just digital and technology transformation. We're talking about cultural transformation, strategic transformation. So that's the plan, that's the project, okay? So meet the Stub Horn Company. It's got a logo, it's got a history, it's got a mission, it's got a purpose. Doesn't have yet a clear strategy, right? So we'll talk about that, and that will be probably the next podcast, where we'll start from the beginning. As we are stepping into this company as a senior technology manager, we're stepping into this company, and we kind of trying to understand the lay of the land. What's the strategy first? And then we'll go around the organization, the people, the processes, the tools, PPT, right? The typical 3 layers which we need to go through, but people being the first. And then we'll try to understand how this company works and how we can have a positive impact on it whilst growing ourselves at the same time, right? Because we're not going to come with a magic one. We still also personally on our growth journey. So we are going to help this company's executive board to drive the company and to make it thrive. That's the plan, remember, right? With ideally through ethical leadership and reaching to high performance. Okay? That's all I wanted to say today, just to put the stage in place because we're going to be in this sort of role play soap opera. It's not The Office, but it's a new version. It's not the Phoenix Project from the book, the Phoenix Project, which was used by, I can't remember the author, but it's a brilliant book about the implementation of the DevOps culture in a technology environment. We might touch a little bit on that, on DevOps and on Agile and all these things, but our project is broader than that, right? So meet the Stub Horn Company. You'll come in as a senior manager, but eventually you'll make or we'll make together our way up to the executive leadership, right? And potentially to the board one day, right? So welcome to Drive and Thrive. Today we've been talking about the Stub Horn Company, and our mission starts here. Take care.